I'm kind of biased because I had a better time in Thailand than I did in Japan. What's up everybody? Welcome to another video in Travel with Smart Sites YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be discussing Japan versus Thailand. We're going to be going over a variety of different things like how clean it is, how much the cost of living is, the girls, for those of you who want to know that. We're also going to be discussing a variety of things like safety as well. So let's get started. The first thing that we'll discuss is safety. Now, which one is safer? In Japan, I did not feel unsafe at all, but I also didn't feel overly welcomed, in my opinion. In Thailand, I never not felt safe, but I also felt overly welcome. They were extremely nice in Thailand. So although I think both of them are safe, I think that in my opinion, statistically, I'm pretty sure Japan is safer from what I know, but I personally feel safer in Thailand. I don't know if it's the Japanese people maybe had cultural differences to where they were not as friendly, or maybe they just didn't like me, or maybe, you know, they are still mad about the past. I'll just say that. Regardless, I feel that Thailand was safer for me specifically only because they were nicer, but in fairness, I never felt unsafe in Japan. So I'll say that this one is a tie. The next thing that I'll say is cleanliness. Let's compare cleanliness, Japan to Thailand. How clean is Thailand compared to Japan? I will say, yes, I think Japan as a whole is cleaner than Thailand, but Thailand was not in particularly unclean. A lot of people say, oh, Thailand is a third world country, but I would say Thailand is a second world country in my opinion. And in reality, Thailand was incredibly clean from Bangkok to Pattaya. But I did notice once you start going more inland in Pattaya, away from the main touristy areas, it did start to get a little bit more dirty as opposed to Japan. Pretty much everywhere I went was very organized and clean, and the streets didn't have garbage. So in fairness, I would say Japan's probably a little bit cleaner than Thailand. Again, I have not traveled all over the countries, but I have been to several cities in Thailand, and I went to several cities in Japan. So from going to Tokyo to Osaka to Shibuya and a few other places in Japan, I found overall it was extremely clean as opposed to Thailand. There were some more dirty areas. Now, the next thing, let's discuss the women. For those of you who are interested in that, what is better, the Japanese women or the women in Thailand? For me, I'm kind of biased because I had a better time in Thailand than I did in Japan, but I think it's more a language barrier in Japan. A lot more people spoke English in Thailand. In Japan, a lot less people spoke English, so it was harder to communicate with the women out there. Also, I was in Thailand for 4 months as opposed to a few weeks in Japan. So with me traveling in Japan, I wasn't able to build any kind of meaningful relationships, and I wasn't able to really speak to a lot of people because many people didn't speak English in Japan. So in my opinion, I think the Japanese women are beautiful. I would love to go out with Japanese women, but in my time in Japan, unfortunately, I did not have any fling, so I couldn't give you a solid yes or no. But I would give this an even call only because I think Japanese women are absolutely beautiful, but I also think Thai women are beautiful. But even though I kind of like Japanese women a little bit better, just my own personal preferences from a looking standpoint, the Thai women were incredible to me. I did have several girls that I was able to go out with, and I really enjoyed myself. So I would give them a tie overall. The next thing that we're going to discuss is cost of living. Now, this one, I could tell you which one it is immediately, but I'm just going to go over some of the cost and you'll kind of see where I'm going with this. So for example, in Japan, driving from the airport to my Airbnb was around $87 just for a half-hour ride roughly. Now, let's compare driving from Bangkok to Pattaya, Thailand, which is about an hour and a half. I paid roughly $45 for about an hour and a half. Now, in Japan, I noticed when you use, I believe it was either Grab or Bolt, I believe it was Grab, it's basically the same thing as calling a taxi, very similar pricing. But if you get a taxi in Thailand versus a Grab or a Bolt, it's significantly cheaper if you get a Grab or a Bolt. So there's a tip for you right there. I highly suggest using Grab and Bolt over a taxi personally. But the comparison in cost of living as well as travel is not even comparable. The Airbnb that I got was like almost $100 a night, and it was like a very small hotel room basically, as opposed to in Thailand where I can get a full apartment at pretty much a resort for like $700 a month as opposed to almost $100 a night. And the food, I would say, is comparable in price. Thailand definitely did have some cheaper options, especially if you're going into street food compared to Japan. But Japan's food was not expensive at all. Generally, it was like still $4 to $10 for meals in Japan. So it definitely wasn't expensive. I could say that they can come close, but Thailand still wins. But if I did have to give an overall rating of what's cheaper, Thailand wins by a landslide. The next thing that we're going to discuss is friendliness. Now, again, I have to give this one to Thailand for the fact that they were very, very welcoming. I felt almost as if I was family there most of the time. They're always bowing to you and they're so happy, and their tone of voice, they're just so happy all the time and welcoming, as opposed to like Japan. They're a little bit more standoffish. I don't know, they're just more, this is just a different culture, a different society. So I don't want to say that they're in particularly unfriendly, but I have to say the people of Thailand were incredibly welcoming. It's not dangerous, and it definitely didn't feel like a third world country at all. I had all the first world amenities, great internet, great phone service, everything. So I would have to give friendliness to Thailand. The last thing that we are going to end up rating them on, I would just say overall things to do. Now, this one is a tricky one because they both have a lot to do, a lot to see. You have Mount Fuji in Japan, you have the Pokemon Center, you have Shiba Inu cafes, all types of street food and whatnot, all types of food. Now, in Thailand, you have very similar things, but you have elephant rides, you have tiger parks, you have beaches, you have all types of entertainment from the space station hotel to all these crazy things, islands. So I would say that it's kind of even because they both had so much to do. You couldn't do it in one trip, even if you stayed for a couple of months. So I'm gonna give this to both of them and say it's a tie. If you wanna know my personal favorite, I have to give it to Thailand. As you'll see in a later video, we're gonna talk about some of the differences in Japan and Thailand. We're gonna talk about my experience. We're gonna talk about the pros and cons of each. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're gonna go a lot more in depth on those, as well as the Philippines and Bali, where I've gotten to spend a lot of time as well. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we're gonna break these down a lot more, from if it's safe out there and a variety of other things. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. Even if you didn't like the video, be sure to comment and tell me how much you hated it. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.